Chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays offside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Ben Sells.
Hello, welcome to the latest episode of the Gull'S Eye View. It'll be hosted by Chris, Rachel, and Clive this week. We've had a lot of squad rotation within TORQUAYTALK over the last few weeks. We've all been quite busy. But I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's still watching and commenting and sort of in Kelly's Corner and everything, and liking and watching the videos and listening on Spotify. It's always really, really appreciated. I'd just like to say, wow, what a couple of weeks it's been for Torquay. It was an honour as always to be in the commentary box with Paul Mahan at the weekend after that 7-0 win against Eastbourne. It's also been a difficult time for the squad, Paul Watton and everyone like that, and it's been just to see how front foot we were. Forward to being back on the podcast, but it's a brilliant podcast. There was a few internet issues, so enjoy seeing Chris frozen for about 4 or 5 minutes. He isn't shocked. He isn't doing the mannequin challenge, whatever that was years ago. But yeah, fantastic. I couldn't be prouder to be a Torquay fan. And I just, as we said 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was Khalifa, if we play with that intensity, that belief and that freedom going forward, we can achieve anything this year. And hopefully it's been proven that is the case. So thank you for watching. And hopefully I'll be back on probably next week, and Kelly will as well. But the other three did absolutely fantastic, and thank you again for watching.
Hello and welcome to this week's euphoric Gull'S Eye View. An incredible few days at Plainmoor this week with 10 goals, 6 points, and lots to talk about. We'll look at that. We'll talk squad strength, we'll talk recruitment, and we'll be in Kelly's Corner with, not Kelly, looking at our question of the week, along with a look ahead towards the weekend, which sees a men's trip to Chelmsford and the ladies playing at home on Sunday afternoon. This week, there is myself, there is Rachel, and there is Clive to review what has been a very eventful few days. Let's start with being in 7th heaven on Saturday against a very poor Eastbourne side. What was your take on that, Rachel?
Quite astonishing, wasn't it, really? From the get-go, it was front foot attacking. With all due respect to Eastbourne, it became pretty clear that they were a fairly weak opponent. But yeah, it was full throttle. We didn't let them settle. We just went at them. Everything that we know and have believed in this football team, this squad of players, came into fruition, basically. Some lovely football on display, some really well taken goals, a lovely hat trick from the sublime Louis Dennis, who is turning out to be, the signing of the season. He's such a joy to watch. Two goals from the equally superb Jordan Young, and of course Dylan Morgan also got a brace himself. And he's another very entertaining, very skillful player. It was, just as you were celebrating one goal and taking back to your seat, or just sort of finding your feet on the terraces, we scored another. It was just relentless, wasn't it? It was an amazing performance, a great atmosphere. Thrilled to bits. A consummate, fantastic performance. But saying that Eastbourne were, pretty poor. I mean, it's a platitude, isn't it? But you've got to beat what's in front of you, and it's still 11v11. It did get a bit feisty second half. I think maybe they were getting a bit frustrated. Nobody likes to get thrashed like that. But there's a few late tackles flying in and what have you. So, but fortunately, we didn't pick up any injuries as such. So, yeah, fantastic on Saturday. Great game.
It was a strange game, wasn't it? In that you look at the opposition, they just kind of failed to do the fundamentals, didn't they? They didn't close down spaces. They didn't work. They didn't close us down. It was just, it was almost painful to watch in an odd kind of way, wasn't it, Clive? But how did you see the way that we kind of went about it? Because it's funny, when you watch the highlights of that game, you kind of forget. I mean, somebody at work said we could have scored 4 before we scored. And kind of when you watch it back in that kind of highlights package, their manager said it could have been double figures, but it really could have been, couldn't it?
Oh, couldn't it just? I mean, we looking at the timing and the goals, we scored 7 goals in 56 minutes. As you say, we had a couple of gold-plated opportunities before we opened the scoring, but even then, it only took us 7 minutes, didn't it? I just think, it was just pass and move all afternoon, really. We were allowed to do that. They didn't have a noticeable midfield, really, did they?
No.
With the greatest respect, when Dan Hayfield is charging through the midfield unopposed, he looks a decent footballer, but you won't get that too often. Obviously last night was a very different affair. And I mean, Eastbourne have had a little bit of a meltdown after it, haven't they? I mean, Tommy Widrington has been around the block for a number of years. Certainly the smartest dressed manager at Plainmoor this year, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Popped up in a suit and a pink tie, and I don't know if he keeps his poppy on all year, but it was still there last Saturday. Very, very dapper. Looked as though he
Wembley final mentality, that.
Yeah, either that or his daughter's wedding, wasn't it? A very, very smart man. But also, an experienced football man. And his post-match interview was, quite angry because they hadn't run for him, had they? They hadn't competed.
No.
And Eastbourne, they would have started this season thinking they had a chance again. They have spent a lot of money over the last couple of years. I think they finished third last season. They may have gone all season unbeaten at home. I think they were no mugs at all, and yet this season has been disastrous for them. I think after last night's results, they're bottom. So I don't know what's gone on there.
They certainly got a bigger squad than we have. For every goal we scored, they seem to be making a substitute. So
they've got one. I've worked it out. They've got one player in their squad for every 3 away fans, I think. Actually, it's not as good. It's not as good as that. Actually, they were sub 50, weren't they? Slightly understandable with the season that they've had, to be honest, and the absolute inevitability that they were going to get pumped by bare bones Torquay United. It was a fantastic afternoon. I mean, like you say, Rach, it just went bang, 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 bang in the first half. And then, straight on it again, second half. And we'd actually, wound up the scoring by the 63rd minute when Youngie scores probably my favourite goal of the lot, to be honest, because it was just a really well directed punt by James Hammond. He did mean it. And he's got the freedom of the right wing, hasn't he? He goes down there, cuts inside, gets his shot away, and their defender, tries to keep it out, but ends up heading it in from a yard. It's one of those glorious goals that everybody enjoys except the defender.
It's sort of hard to keep up, wasn't it? And as you say, when it dried up on the 63rd minute, we were able to sort of like take a breather a little bit, weren't we? Even to the point where I asked my friend, I said, I wonder if that lad Sonny Sharples Ahmed's going to be going to get on. And she turned around to me and said, well, he's already on. so I was so sort of like wound, sort of engrossed in and just in the sort of euphoria. There's the word that I hadn't realised that we'd in fact made a sub as well. So yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Brilliant.
It was. It was. They're both the games. We'll move on to Tuesday night shortly, but they're funny because kind of the full-time whistle on Saturday was kind of like, oh, it's finished now. All right, well done, we'll go home. Wasn't it? Because of course, that kind of euphoria of winning and hanging on that we had last night. Certainly in the circumstance of the additional time that we played, it was kind of like, all right, it's over now. Right, we'll go home. And kind of, Paul Watton was kind of clap the fans and kind of, it wasn't kind of as euphoric almost as maybe he's a late winner or kind of hanging on like it was on Tuesday night. But yeah, I have to say on Witherington, I was a bit disappointed in him actually because he's an experienced football man, isn't he? He's a Premier League footballer. He's been a coach in the National League level for a long time. And actually, tactically, I thought at half-time, my dad and my oldest were discussing at half-time, like, why do games that are 4-0 at half-time always finish 4-0? And because otherwise, kind of, we say, people relaxes and it's job done and all that. But actually, tactically, they changed nothing at half-time. They did nothing to address
they even had the huddle
into that position. Yeah, they didn't close any spaces down. They didn't change their shape. They didn't try to get tighter and work harder and shut down those spaces in midfield. There was just oceans of space to just run through, and it carried on in the second half. It was a very odd kind of, and just a very strange afternoon in a lot of ways, wasn't it? Where do we stand on the on the refunding of the away fans' tickets, which the owner said they decided at half time. I don't like it myself. It kind of suggests that people weren't trying and that they were kind of doing it deliberately. And we've all been to away days that have gone south significantly and not geographically. So I've been to 6-2 defeats and been away that big weekends that have been ruined by the football. But you kind of take your chance, don't you? If you go to an away game, you're not guaranteed they're going to win, are you?
If we'd got hammered 7-0 somewhere and somebody said, Clive, here's 20 quid for your trouble, I wouldn't turn that down. I mean, obviously Torquay have struggled financially a lot, and they, over decades, it's very difficult. Imagine though, if they'd had to give refunds every time we were shit. I mean, they wouldn't have lasted 3 months, would they?
No, I think it's a nice thing to do, isn't it, in the circumstance? But a pie and a pint at the next home game might suffice for those people, mightn't it? But no, it was an interesting way. But it summed up, didn't it, just how poor their afternoon was. So we left Playmore full of excitement and full of 3 points and joy in a third consecutive win, but with our eyes firmly fixed on the Tuesday night engagement with Worthing, who were coming to town off the back of 9 consecutive wins, and it looked a big chance. So we arrived last night. Unchanged team. No great surprise because there's not a lot else, quite frankly, just at the moment. So, the first 20 minutes, Rachel, were kind of your worst nightmare when you're playing a side that's full of confidence and as good as they were, wasn't it?
Well, when we sort of got into the ground, there was the queue for the usual queue for the refreshments hut, the catering, the loos, and people queuing. But this is the Bristow's family stand entrance, and then there's a chap selling programs and the 50/50s. Dennis. There's got to be a way around that because it's congestion central, and it's
take the wall out.
Well, the wall doesn't help, but yeah, I mean, we're not here to be
get it out, Clive. But it's on the trust board. Come on.
It's almost like 10 minutes to get past the refreshments hut and then actually to your seat, but that's another thing. So that gave me the impression that it was a bigger gate, it was going to be a bigger crowd than Saturday, but as it turned out, it was
cold though, wasn't it?
Well, cold or not, that's what the merchandise, the club shop's for, isn't it? Your bobble hats and your scarves.
I don't do hats, but I have a Talkie Talk bobble hat on last night. It was a Talkie Talk bobble hat night last night.
But yeah,
fresh,
so it was chilly, but from the kickoff, it was looking a bit daunting, wasn't it? Worthing were onto us pretty much straight away, and I mean, what was it? We fended off a few attacks, but I think was it on the 10th minute, 10th minute, they popped up and scored. I'm trying. I think sort of it was a ball over onto the sort of left side, wasn't it? Or the right, was it? Anyway, I'm not sure if it was Dyer or Dreher. They seemed to lose their footing a bit, but anyway, it was on the wing.
Stretched, didn't he, and couldn't reach it.
Yeah, that was it. He sort of stretched, couldn't get to it. And the player sort of cut in, and it was all a bit surreal actually. It just sort of hit, we just saw the side netting rippling, and there was just this.
It hit James Hammond's towel, didn't it? That's why it was a bit weird. It hit Hammond's towel.
This red.
Yeah, and has it gone in?
Oh, this black.
It has. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the hush around the ground was. We were all sort of a little bit shocked because while they were at us, we seemed to be dealing with it pretty well. And then blow me, 5-6 minutes later, from a corner, I think they took it short, didn't they? And pinged the ball over, and the lad went flying in. I think he hurt himself in the process, but flying in, got it was so 2-0. And I remember leaning, well, because the little sort of group where I sit on Bristow's, as we all know one another, and I just, being the portent of doom, it's game over, isn't it? That's that, isn't it? But it took a few sort of, well, actually, my young nephew to say, no, we're still in it, we're still in it. And then that seemed to, the heads didn't drop at all, did they? So we seemed to. That seemed to sort of like charge us up, didn't it? That was the
it did.
The sort of catalyst for us to decide to start. Actually, come on, we can play a bit of football here, and then we start.
Don't you, Rach? You wonder a little bit whether the injury did us a favour, because it was a break in play, wasn't it?
He was down for a while, wasn't he? He was. He looked a bit dazed.
I mean, I'm bound to say, at that point, it had sort of 6-0 written all over it, because Worthing had been completely dominant for me.
Yeah.
They pressed us. We looked all at sea, really. Everything we tried in midfield went wrong. We kept giving the ball away, and it just looked awful. It looked like an absolute slaughter. Obviously,
I think that's where we were losing it at that point, weren't we? In midfield. I've got to mention that number 7. God, what was his? I'm trying to remember his name. I wrote it down.
Hang on, I can tell you. It's stand by your bed. It was Razak Coleman de Graft.
That's it, Raz. That's it. Raz, what a great name.
Not to attempt the accent there, I think, Chris. Very good.
Razak Coleman de Graft. Is he Dutch? I went a bit Dutch, didn't I? Coleman de Graft.
It does sound Dutch or South African, even.
Good though, wasn't he? Cool. Blimey.
I mean that's a name and a half on the back of your shirt. He was almost like
before?
He was almost Omar Musa.
Steve Harris has already cleared this up. He's the proper stats man, isn't he, on Talky Talk? Oh. Yeah, he is ex-Maidstone. He gave Jay Fulston all he could handle, didn't he, all night, really? I thought Jay had a decent game, but my God, he had his hands full for certain.
He did, and we kind of came storming back. We got our foot, and we had the Hayfield chance, didn't we? That at 2-0, you were like, you've got to take that chance. It was could have, should have scored, but then that kind of gave us a bit of oxygen and a bit of and a bit of belief, didn't it? And then all of a sudden, Clive, from that, we were then back in the game with a goal. I'll be interested if it was offside. It was tight, from the ever reliable Louis Dennis. Ole ole.
Dennis again, ole ole.
Again, ole ole.
It's a good one, isn't it? Five goals in 2 games. He deserves a song, doesn't he? Absolutely.
It does, absolutely.
Thank you, Louis.
Even if it is us singing on the internet.
Thank you, Louis. I'm sure you'll be watching this, mate. Well done. Keep it up. I know it's hard work, 3 games in a week, but you're all we got up front at the minute, mate. So please keep going if you can.
Nice finish again, though, Clive, wasn't it?
Took it well.
It was lovely. I'll be honest. I was looking down, writing about Hayfield's shot when the through ball went in. Was it Sonny Blue with the through ball? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'd have to look at that again. Certainly Sonny Blue for the second one, but I'm not sure about the first one.
Yeah, but Dennis again. He's just got that composure, hasn't he? He because he's been doing it for 10 or 15 years, he just knows what to do. Took a good touch, hit it across the keeper, got it brilliant, back in the game, and we never looked back after that. It was fantastic. It was an absolute reversal, wasn't it?
If you look at the goals he scored as well, Clive, I was thinking as well, he scores strikers' goals, doesn't he? If you think about that goal, the second goal on Saturday was a 1-on-1. First day of the season, he scored a goal similar to that. Again, last night, 2 close range finishes at Farnborough. So he's the classic fox in the box, isn't he? He's kind of scoring those goals, and if you were neutral then for 10 minutes, you'd be saying the equaliser's coming, it's coming. You don't say it when it's your own team, do you? But then the long ball from Sonny Blue, and then Jordan Young doing what Jordan Young does. I feel like I've watched that goal about 100 times since he signed for us, but I thought it was a little bit different
because he's been from
wider out before. Yeah, but he's been from wider out before, kind of curling into the top corner, but he ended up kind of square on, didn't he? And I just thought, I don't know if he can bend this. So he thought, I'll just smash it top corner instead, didn't he? Stunning finish.
Well, he was at quite an acute angle, and he did what he does. He sort of like gets it onto his right, doesn't he? I mean, it was more of a placement, wasn't it? I don't know about smashing. He curled it in.
Yeah.
The top. It was like you say. It was a Jordan Young trademark goal, and it was he's a joy to behold, isn't he?
What a player. Yeah.
And
then you get to half time. And then our mate, what's he called? Razak Coleman de Graft nearly scored before half time, but Hammy got out fast, didn't he, and blocked the shot. So I think level at half time was about right. And you come out second half thinking, crikey, what's going to happen here? Yeah. And then within 10 minutes of the second half, I mean, if you've enjoyed a goal more than that, then you'd be impressed. The long ball, Jay Fulson chased it down, won the tackle, the ball got out, Jordan Young down the right, right-footed cross, and I was exactly what Paul wanted after the game. I thought he's lined up. I was he's just going to go head it in. I was like, what's he doing? And he just took a chest volley. What a goal!
Absolutely. I was I was behind him, if you like, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh my God, he's gonna mess it up.
Just,
You know, it
yeah.
needs
dead
to
hit.
go in the net. You know, but
Yeah.
oh my God, it probably it all slows down for him, doesn't it? You know, young
Yeah.
strikers, people who aren't very good at it, it all gets rushed and horrible. But
Yeah.
he's just
And they panic.
I think he sees it in slow motion, and yeah, took it down, prodded it home, and as absolute bedlam, won it. I mean, how are we winning that game after the first 20 minutes? It was a fantastic effort, honestly, and
Yeah,
you know,
was.
and it's with, you know, without being at all detrimental to any of the other squad members. You know, that was the only 11 we could put out. You know, we were unchanged from Saturday.
Yeah, as Paul Watton put it, we're chronically depleted.
Yeah.
And even more so now, by the sounds of it, after the game. But yeah, you know, when you think we are very light, aren't we? We are almost bare bones at the moment, aren't we? With the squad as it is.
But there's a lot. I mean, it's easy to sit here after two really good results. I mean, because a week ago I was still fuming about the trophy. So that shows how up and down you are as a football fan.
Oh,
doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But honestly, the spirit that those lads have showed over the last two games, you know, in adversity, it had been a dreadful week before for the reasons that we all know. You know, there's been a disciplinary issue, and that is because of the nature of what's gone on. That is likely to affect morale around the place, and you know, it's a sort of thing that, you know, if you're not careful, it can split a group apart. You know, if people are taking sides, you can end up with a real issue there. So I don't know how much credit you can give to Paul and Mikey for getting the lads together last week. But whatever's been done and whatever's come within the squad itself, you have to take your hat off. It's brilliant to see how together they are and what a fighting spirit there is, because just really quickly, that result last night was very, very similar to that Western game a year ago when we were struggling.
It reminded me of it. Yeah,
we were struggling. We were down to 10 men. It was like, if we lose this, I don't know. And they dug in, and actually they didn't just dig in. They showed a lot of quality, and it's brilliant signs, really brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, whatever has gone on, and you know, it's impactful. But I do think they have let the side down big time. But I almost think that the squad that have been, you know, that played on Saturday, that played last night, they've almost said to themselves, this is not going to be to our detriment. This is, you know, we're not going to let this spoil things, because they have they've really stepped up, haven't they? You know, the threshold for a tiny squad, not only those two that, you know, have let them down. The injuries that we've still got, and the squad that have played these last two games and played brilliantly. You know, they've really raised the bar, haven't they?
And Chris appears to have frozen
in a very sort of pouty.
The internet of Teambridge has let us down this evening.
Once we got ahead, it was then very much a bit of a battle that last, well, I say half an hour, but it turned into about another 45, didn't it? But what changed in the game in terms of how we did? Fatigue? Because we did sit in a bit, but we can't have had a lot more to give, I wouldn't have thought.
I mean, Louis Dennis, apparently I think he's because he has got a hamstring like a Stradivarius, hasn't he? I mean, it's and they're having to sort of, you know, keep tabs on that. But I mean, how he kept going is incredible. But it was still end to end, though, wasn't it? Up until literally the last sort of like 10 minutes or so, and then what with, you know, a few sort of players down and what. Oh, there was that clash, wasn't there? Jordan Thomas and and the defender lad, which from where we were sitting, it looked like the guy had raised his elbow, and Thomas was down for a good sort of 5-6 minutes or so. Then
I felt with that one, I felt that was a bit of revenge, because immediately before that, Thomas had been booked for a foul. And I think the guy was looking to sort him out. I didn't have a great view of it. It was over towards the pop side in the sort of Babacom end quarter of the ground, but it might well have been an elbow. The guy who ended up getting a yellow was also down, wasn't he, for a few minutes. Now, whether that was a case of, make the injury worse than it is to try and avoid the red, I don't know.
I think the reaction from the pop side was quite telling, because they were sort of enraged, weren't they? There was a lot of baying in that, but he got a yellow, didn't he? And then I think he was subbed, wasn't he? I think he had to go off.
Thomas, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of the pop as well, I know it wasn't a huge crowd last night, 2,800. I think that is a good crowd for a Tuesday night in November. But the pop side were brilliant last night, weren't they? They sang. They sang for 70 minutes, I'd say, for certain, and there was a lot of bouncing as well.
It's contagious as well, isn't it? When they're in fine voice, it ripples around. Certainly Bristow's, where I was sat, the block where I was sitting, we were sort of joining in, and so it was a, like you say, 2,800 with 48 Worthing. But the atmosphere was pretty scintillating, wasn't it? It was good stuff. They commented on that, didn't they? Actually, quite a few of the players saying, we sort of helped them get over the line. But yeah, end to end, it was pretty much, we were playing pretty deep, weren't we, for the last few moments of the game? And then when the board went up with 11 minutes, there was a few gasps, wasn't there, of, yeah, okay. I mean, there was the Thomas and Matey Boy incident, but 11 minutes. I mean,
well, there'd been 6 in the first half.
6 minutes
it was one of the longest games you could ever wish to see, wasn't it? And of course, if you're going to play 11 minutes injury time, there's always a bit to add on within that as well. And I'm sure it was 13 come the end. As you say, really good
piling
save
forward,
by Hammond
weren't they?
Right at the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the sort of those. I think we were on to about 12 minutes 40 something, and then the player was brought down right on the edge of the area, wasn't he, to the sort of right side, and hearts in our mouths time. Ball goes over. There's a scramble, isn't there? And then I think there was a little bit of bagatelle going on, and then the Worthing goalkeeper sort of like launched. I think he launched it and sort of headed towards, and Hammond just, pulled a cracking save, and then smothered it. And then I could see Drea sort of tapping him on the head. But, at one point I heard this sort of weird cheer, thinking it was the Worthing supporters, and the bloody ball had gone over the line. So I'm all like, no way, no, and then we've won. It was surreal, wasn't it? It was a surreal ending.
Yeah. Brilliant night, Rach.
Yep.
Sadly, viewers, we've lost Chris again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to what is normally called Kelly's Corner. Just for our London viewers,
Compost Corner.
Only, it's Compost Corner, all right? So thank you very much, everybody, for your replies on Facebook and Twitter X to Kelly's Corner's question this week. Given tight finances at Torquay and most other clubs, would you listen to offers for any of our players in January? So actually, it's been a fairly consistent response from the fan base on this one. For me, I've got to say, I think any player's got his price. And if we were made an offer that we couldn't refuse, maybe you have to do it. But obviously, we've got a squad that's held together with sticking plaster and glue at the minute, and you'd need to be getting players in if you were able to sell any. But we'll do Twitter first, and the first reply came from Chris Braun. Hi, Chris. Thanks for contacting us. Chris said there isn't anybody I would get rid of. Squad is very light. I know we've gone for some quality, but this is a risk. So he's not in favour. Paul Mulhern, who I think made his debut on the Torquay United radio last night, says, I'm not going to do the accent, Paul. He said it would depend on the offer, and I can't see anybody offering enough to tempt us. If we did have a fully fit squad, we're heavy in midfield / number 10 and light at centre-back, and good strikers, assuming that Dennis is a 10. Interestingly, says Paul, a certain Derek Adams was in attendance last night. Did you make anything of that, Rach, the new Plymouth Argyle Director of Football at Plainmoor?
Well, iron up our players, or invited by Mr. Warnock to ingratiate and perhaps give us some players. I prefer that scenario myself, but who knows? I don't know. I mean, as a National League South football match goes, it was pretty aberrant, wasn't it? It was, you're not going to get a higher quality game than that. So whether he just thought, well, this is third versus fourth, or fourth versus third as it was, so I'll pop along and it's only up the road. So I don't know, what can you see in it?
He saw
a very good game.
The other theory, of course, is that he's eyeing up managerial talent, but we'll leave that there, I think, because Adam Inchelwood and Paul Watton are both, I think, improving their reputations this season. So let's see. I mean, like you say, he might have just fancied a trip out. I mean, you wouldn't want to be in Plymouth if you could avoid it, would you? Sorry, back to the corner, and the man himself gets in touch from somewhere very cold. Tom Kelly says, I think the fact that many are under contract and are settled here will negate any offers for our top quality players. I do get the feeling, though, that if we don't go up this season, we could pay for it next year, but hopefully that's something we don't need to worry about. Up the Gulls. Hope you're enjoying your holiday, Tom. Come back soon, for God's sake. Johnny Jones, absolute regular, one of the four musketeers. You'll see him at every away ground. And his response is very brief. He says £1 million for Sam Dreyer, no more, no less. Disco Barry gets in touch. Thanks, Disco. We hear from you a lot, and it's great. He says, rather than look to sell people, other than the two on the naughty step, I think we need to look for a decent centre forward. Yes, Cody may return, says Barry, but how fit and for how long, I wonder. Well, good evening, Cody. If you're watching this, we can't wait, mate. We'd love to see you back. I'm going to be careful with this guy's name because I got it wrong earlier in the week. Sorry, Josh Coles. Josh, hiya. And your comment is, with our injuries at the moment, I don't think we can afford to sell anyone. For our big names, I'd only accept crazy money, but for the realistic bids we'd be likely to get, no. We need to get out of this league, and it'll be tight even with our best players available. Joe Pope, Off the Line blog, no. Players largely contracted beyond the current season, so no pressure on us to sell. Only accept deals from EFL, as there's no incentive to leave us for a National League side, in my opinion. We need to be adding to Paul Watton's squad, not reducing it. Thanks, Joe. Ollie has also said no. I don't think I could name a player that I would sell. And that's his comment. He can't think of a player that he would sell at the moment. Hercules W1899 gets in touch. What we have to think of is, what's the price of promotion? If we sell any of our starters, can we get in someone as good? And how much will that cost? If there's a chance it will affect a title push, it would need to be a ridiculous offer. It's a no from me. Thank you very much for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. That brings us to the end of the Twitter contributions. Chris is back. Hi, mate. You all right?
Technical nightmare. I'm rejoined on my phone now, but I'm here. Mm-hmm.
Good to see you. So we'll finish off with Compo's Corner here tonight. Going on to the lovely Facebook. And looks like we got 9 responses on there. So thanks Yellow Army for all your interactions. We love you, and it's just lovely that you're involved. If you're not subscribing to the channel already, please do. If you get enough of us, it'll pay for a bag of sweets for Swanee when he's back. Mark Hepworth has answered the question. The question being, should we listen to any offers in January? Mark Hepworth, 10 million quid for Jordan Young, not a penny less. Good luck with that. Dave Morris, hopefully no, but the board are fans and businessmen who will do the best for the club, i.e. weigh up financial factors against football needs for promotion. Also have to take into account players having their heads turned. That said, I'm pretty confident we will come out of January with a stronger squad with possible additions. Well, that would be nice. Dana Vary, I think. Sorry, Dan, if I've got that wrong. Dan says, I wouldn't consider any offers taking out the players that we've loaned out unless they're a decent 6-figure sum. If we have a fully fit and available team, I don't think there are any better teams in our league. We need to keep this group together if we're to have any chance of promotion. Ian Tyson is in agreement with the other comments. He says, unless it's a massive fee, I would avoid selling anybody, as it would be one of our better players, which would inevitably severely impact our bid for promotion. Jack Vage says, depends on what we would do with the money and who we would bring in. Neil Holloway, Crosby, Carson, Thomas, maybe Worthington. Worthington's out of favour with Neil. We seem to be playing much better without him right now. Certainly been a good few days, hasn't it? Thank you for that, Neil. Jamie Cole, absolutely not if we want to achieve promotion. But the Bryn Consortium are businessmen, and I genuinely feel that if a suitable offer came in for Jordan Young, then they would take it. If you're listening, Jordan, don't take it. So there you go.
Yeah.
2 more respondents. Tim Swan, no, I wouldn't if at all possible. The squad is wafer thin as it is, and if we're serious about moving up the pyramid, we need to do all we can to keep the squad together. And finally, last but not least, Jason Burke, absolutely not, unless it's game-changing money. We need to get out of this league as quickly as possible, unless those on loan are getting any interest. Crosby, Carson, says Jason. So that is pretty unanimous, really. Nobody's very interested in selling players. It would need to be an unbelievable offer, because obviously we're all kind of in agreement that we need to have a squad that's good enough to try and get us out of the division. And thank you very much for all of that. Normal service will be resumed soon. Tommy will be back, and I'm sure he'll make a better job of it than me.
Yeah, from what I caught of that, Clive, that was very good. I would just add, everyone's got a price. I mean, I wouldn't want to sell any of them. You know, Jordan Young, people like that. You know, Louis Dennis, Sam Dreas, probably. You know, as a youngster,
Tony
probably.
Blulo, Everton. I mean, what price
Yeah.
him at the moment? He's
Yeah.
ran the midfield last night.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's one that gets supporters talking, but the reality of it is that everyone's got a price. If enough money came in with a deal that the club were happy to accept for Jordan Young or whatever, I mean, ultimately finances are as tight for us as they are at any other clubs. If somebody comes in with an offer that the board feel they can't refuse, then we'd have to accept it. We're not a club that's in a position to say we don't want you 100,000, 150,000, whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, I get that's the danger, isn't it? But I mean, I guess within the National League that could happen at any moment, couldn't it? If somebody came in one of the National League clubs, that you would think, given where we are and I don't know salaries and things, location, a lot of the players look feel to be quite settled, don't they? It would have to be a significant career jump, so maybe even the Football League, to entice any of these players to want to move, I'd have thought.
I mean, that's 11 goals for Jordan Young, isn't it? 11 goals, and we're not we're still in November. It's and he, you know, last night that finish was a league player finish, wasn't it? He is. But don't listen, anybody. You can't have him. He's not for sale. He's he's ours. But I mean,
he's got a shocking right foot. I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole.
I'm talking. Yeah, take it back. He's yeah. Don't listen to me. What do I know?
Same with Jordan Young as well. Is it's the stats. I mean, it's not just the goals; it's the assists. So he had one assist last night. That's 58 appearances, 22 goals, 21 assists. So what do they call it nowadays? Goal contributions, isn't it? So that's 43 goal contributions in 58 games.
It's phenomenal.
All right, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a great player.
I think.
So we roll on to Saturday and the next away trip.
One more on that. I was just going to say when the Brink Consortium came in, they said that a large part of the model going forward is player trading. Now, there are a lot of clubs that have kept themselves afloat over the years by identifying talent, bringing it on, making it better, and then selling it. We don't have the luxury of being able to really develop our own at the moment. The youth academy system just isn't at that level because of the finances involved. So, ideally going forward, it is a case of getting good players in, putting them on contracts that means that, we've got the whip hand rather than the player, as so often been the case here in the past. We're getting 1-year deals and, Akin Fenwa, disappeared without trace after one good season. What a shame that was. So, I think we need to have it in the back of our minds that we probably are always going to be a selling club. It's just we haven't had anything to sell for the last 10 years, have we?
No. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, everyone has their price, don't they? If it's a deal that the club can reinvest the money in or the club feel is a good price, then I think that's the case for everyone, isn't it? So we go back to trying to keep our away form as good as it has been, having sorted out the last 2 away games. We travelled to Essex to play Chelmsford on the running track on Saturday. Clive, you'll be there. What are you expecting from the day?
Tough game, Chris. Tough game, but it really is because they despite their Twitter account having spent the last couple of seasons slagging us off for buying the league, they've been having a damn good go at it themselves, haven't they? I don't suppose Lyle Taylor's playing for nothing.
I shouldn't think he is. No,
we have lost on our last 2 visits to Chelmsford. I think that the home side probably will start favourite, to be honest. It is unfortunately quite a difficult place for Torquay to go historically. We managed to lose last year despite going 2-0 up and scoring from the halfway line, if you remember. So MJ. I think as with any away trip, you need to enjoy the day. Get up there as early as you can, spend some money in the local economy, enjoy yourself, and you never know if you get the result as well. It puts the cherry on top, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, Chelmsford have been on a good run. And I think last week, they're a club that you look at and think, all of a sudden they look worrying. But then they've lost 2 away games, Saturday and Tuesday. So, which can be, dangerous because they're going to want to be back in front of their own fans and prove a point, aren't they? But yeah, I mean, we need to, hopefully, if we can have any players back, then that'd be great. But if not, or if we've not added anybody, then, if we can roll these 11 out. I mean, we had a few issues by the end last night, I think. Hayford went off holding his groin, didn't he? And, Morgan got a knee in the back. So as long as they can pull up all right in the next couple of days, then we'll have to try and go with the same 11, won't we, I think?
Just a point that's, I've been sort of like thinking about it. And there's a comparison here. We signed a few seasons ago a player called Cloudy Lolos. Now, the Plymouth manager, Ryan Lowe, rated him. He said he's raw, but you could work with him. He's got a talent, and he's going to make a very good centre forward. Now, we've signed a player called Sonny Fish, and he missed the pre-season with an injury. He's just starting to come back into the team. I'll be honest, so far, it's almost like the Cloudy Lolos, because I kept thinking, well, when's he going to sort of start to turn it on a little bit? Now, how long before do you think we're going to see the best of Sonny Fish? Because at the moment, it's just not firing, is it? I mean, I'm just interested in opinions.
Yeah.
Because Cloudy Lolos went on, he left Torquay, and he's actually forged a fairly respectable, quite an impressive career, hasn't he?
I think you've always got the impression with Lolos it was more attitudinal, wasn't it, as opposed to ability? Because he had the ability. It was just whether he was able to apply himself. I mean, I think Sonny Fish was kind of his circumstances dictated. He was probably, I think we held him back as long as we could, but it's taken him a while to build his fitness up, hasn't it? Because he's had a couple of pretty significant injuries for somebody as young as he is, and there's no doubt he's got ability. I thought he came on last night and ran. But it was an unfortunate time to come on because when he came on, it was pretty much just about running.
71st minute, yeah,
running, closing, shutting people down. There wasn't really much opportunity in terms of getting forward and getting a goal, was there, and getting any quality into the game. It was a lot of it was chasing because we were sitting back and we were getting tired. And I think that he's got ability, but it's going to take time for him, isn't it? He's young. I mean, I know Paul thinks of him very highly, but he seems to be taking some time to find his feet. But, I don't think he's played regularly at this level, has he? So I think there's more to come from him, but I think we need to start to see that now he's such an important member of the first team squad.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. I mean, it's like you say, there's definitely a player there, but it's just sort of harnessing the fitness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So what do we reckon then, Clive? What's your score prediction for Saturday then?
Saturday, I've been having a shocker recently. I had us down for a 3-1 defeat last night, which was actually looking quite good at about 8 o'clock. Let's go with a 1 each.
Take a point. I think that's probably fair. I'm going to be a bit more optimistic. I think with the run we're on, we're going to go there and win 2-0. Rach?
What is it? So where are Chelmsford? 9th, 10th? Are they mid-table? The 11th, are they? Not that has any bearing, really. It's not in this division. So, we've had 2 wins on the bounce away from home after the previous defeats and sort of no-shows. So I am a bit worried about the thinness of our squad. We did pick up some knocks last night, so that's a bit of a worry. I'll go 2-2. I'll go for a draw.
Okay. Draw, you take that. You also got to hope if we could go and get a win on Saturday. We've then got one game in 20 days after that. So that will hopefully give us some time to get some people back for a multitude of reasons. So yeah, if we could go and get a result, it could really take us into that kind of light first half of December before we have the Christmas period with some. Well, it'd be a 5th win in a row, wouldn't it, if we can get another one? So yeah, no, it will be good. So after we've had the men playing on Saturday, we've got Sunday. The ladies, Clive, let's reflect on your trip to Poole last weekend. Incredible commitment to the women. Good day out, good win.
What a joy! Yeah. Well, you have to when you spend most of your life slagging off away fans, you have to kind of walk the walk, don't you? Really. So once I got the tip off that the game was on, off I went. Poole Town away. Poole Town's a lovely football ground, and that's where I originally went to. But unfortunately, the game was being played at Hamworthy. So Hayward's gone to the wrong ground. Anyway, it was only 10 minutes drive away. And
Tim Sill's former ground, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think Hamworthy, the club itself, is. I don't know whether it's still operating at anywhere like the level that it was. I think they were perhaps because that it's the Dorset FA headquarters, so it obviously wasn't their ground. And I think when Silsey left to go to Wimborne, I think they, I don't know that they actually folded, but I think they withdrew from the division that they'd been in, which was a shame because he'd got them to the FA Vase semi-final one year, which was brilliant. Yeah. But I digress. So dominant performance again from the girls. Molly Taylor opened the scoring early on with a header from a corner. She's got a penchant for that, clearly. The former Exeter player.
Oh yeah, I was going to say they signed her from Exeter, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. She'd been there for 5 years, and she was very highly thought of. She's a good footballer. I've watched the last couple of games, and she does it all really. Very, very good. We had a bit of a goalie malfunction, unfortunately, just after that. So they've gone 1-1 with a free kick from near the halfway line. But we were absolutely dominant. T captain was on fire, really. She had a couple of goals ruled out before she scored a penalty just before half time. Second half was even more one-way traffic, to be honest. We scored immediately after the interval. Lily Hilton with a tap in after the goalie dropped a corner, which was harsh on her because I thought the pool goalie had a really good game. And the rest of the game, honestly, we could have scored 6 or 7, I think, but we didn't. And it was Molly who got the 4th goal, which gave the scoreline a bit more credence, really. It reflected the game slightly better. She pinged one in the top corner in the last minute. So fantastic result again for the women. They've got a lot of games in hand on everybody because they've, for various reasons this season, they've only played 4 league games so far. So they're only sort of halfway up the table, but they're unbeaten. I think they've played 4, won 3, drawn 1. They drew on the opening day at Pucklechurch, but even since then, the squad's been strengthened enormously, and I think they're red hot favourites to win the division this year. And if anybody fancies coming down on Sunday, it's going to be Coach Road against Frampton Rangers. Reasonable facilities there. You can certainly park your car for free. You can sit under cover if it's a bit inclement. And let's get behind the girls because I think they're going to have a great season.
They're in a
Good stuff.
semi-final as well,
Excellent.
aren't they? There's a chance of a bit of silverware.
Devon Cup, yeah. They'll be
So-
favourites for that as well because it's one of these competitions that Plymouth and Exeter couldn't be bothered to enter. So yeah, they hammered Tiverton 2 rounds ago, and they put 6 past Plimpton last week. So yeah, they're looking very
On
very
course.
good in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we've done what's been a busy week justice on this week's Goals Eye View. Lots to talk about. So we'll be looking for 2 positive results for both the men and the ladies teams at the weekend. Sorry, women's teams, Clive. And then hopefully next week we'll have 2 more wins and then a bit of a free midweek next week to hopefully get some bodies back. So thank you to Rachel and to Clive for joining me this week, and we will see you again next week.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.